There's also news on the weapons at the federal level. Mexico sued several major U.S. gun makers in 2021, accusing them of fueling cartel violence. Mexico claimed the majority of weapons recovered at crime scenes could be traced back to manufacturers in the U.S. But the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously rejected Mexico's lawsuit against American gun makers, ruling the companies were not directly to blame for cartel violence. Smuggling firearms from the U.S. to Mexico is an issue for law enforcement all along our borders. As senior crime and justice reporter Rebecca Lopez reports, leaders in Mexico and Canada say they need help stopping U.S. weapons from coming into their countries.
The border between the U.S. and Canada stretches 5,500 miles from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean.
Largest undefended border in the world. So there's a variety of smuggling techniques that are used.
Gun smuggling from the U.S. into Canada has become a huge problem for our neighbors to the north.
The proliferation of illegal guns in our communities is alarming. We are all battling the same challenges. The illegal guns coming from the United States.
And Canadian authorities say those guns are contributing to gun violence and deaths. Chief Bill Forty with the Niagara Regional Police says in Ontario, the majority of gun crimes are committed with weapons illegally brought in from the U.S.
The last set of data we had was that 90% of the crime guns in Ontario were from the United States.
According to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, more than 21,000 U.S.-made firearms were recovered after they were used in a crime and sent to the ATF for tracing in Canada.
They come in through land, they come in by plane, they're smuggled on trucks, they come across the water, any way they can get them across the border.
In 2023, Toronto police found suitcases full of firearms in the trunk of a car, disguised as Christmas gifts. It was a joint operation called Project Moneypenny. 170 weapons were seized in the bust, and they say many of those guns came from Texas.
They've seen over the years the high proliferation of firearms in Texas as a potential market for them to acquire them.
It's lucrative business for gun smugglers buying weapons in Texas.
That same firearm that they might pay $500 or $600 for here is going, in Canada, the street price anywhere from $7,000 to $9,000. So there's a significant profit margin in the illegal firearms business from the United States to Canada.
That quick and easy money enticed DeMontre Hackworth of Dallas. According to federal court records, Hackworth pled guilty to dealing firearms without a license and served a 21-month prison sentence.
16 of the guns Mr. Hackworth allegedly purchased had been recovered in incidents and crimes not involving him across the United States and in Canada.
The illegal flow of firearms increased in 2020, according to Canadian authorities, following a mass shooting in Nova Scotia, where 22 people were killed in the deadliest shooting rampage in Canadian history.
We're introducing legislation.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau banned 1,500 makes and models of military assault weapons within weeks of the shootings. And in October 2022, Canada enacted a freeze on sale, purchase, and transfer of handguns.
The illegal importation of firearms.
Dr. Nashma Ahmed is with the Canadian Doctors for Protection from Guns. Her group fights to change gun laws.
We are trying to stem the availability of high lethal weapons. It could be domestically bought, but also trying to address the issue of illegal importation or smuggling of firearms across the Canada-U.S. border.
As a trauma doctor, she sees gunshot victims every day.
There's many forms of gun violence, and because guns are so lethal, it very frequently results in the death or severe injury of the person shot.
16-year-old Jeremy Cook was murdered with a weapon purchased in the U.S., according to Canadian law enforcement. His mother, Melissa, spoke with a Canadian TV station.
I think we need to find out where these guns are coming from, how they're getting into our country. They have blood on their hands, too.
The impact of smuggling U.S. firearms isn't limited to Canada. A study by the ATF estimates that 200,000 firearms a year are trafficked from the U.S. into Mexico, and many of those weapons are assault rifles used by cartels against the Mexican military.
These are weapons of war, and they're designed to kill and maim as many people as quickly as possible.
Both Canadian and Mexican leaders have intensified calls for the United States to take greater responsibility in curbing the proliferation of firearms. In 2021, the Mexican government filed a lawsuit against 8 U.S. gun manufacturers seeking $10 billion in damage, accusing them of fueling weapons trafficking and violence. The U.S. Supreme Court will hear the case in March to determine if the case can move forward. In Dallas, I'm Rebecca Lopez.